Question number 10. Uveni was given 3,500. She invested this amount in a local bank for 2 years at a rate of 4.5% per year compound interest. Very important. Calculate the total amount that she will receive after 2 years. Now, because it's 2 years, you can do simple and then add that with the amount and then do simple again. But I would not prefer that method. As I said, you don't have so many formulas to study. The few that you have, just study that. You study a lot of biology, a lot of history, a lot of geography. And if it comes to maths, then you're sometimes lazy to just study one formula. Okay, or let's say 10 at most. Okay, so here I show you where it is in the textbook. It's on page 44. It's still in the first chapter, numbers and operation, and it's compound interest. And there is the formula that you must just memorize. Otherwise, you work out like simple interest and just add the interest to the amount every year. So every calculation is needed for each year. So I prefer, but if it comes to the exam and you forgot that formula, then this will also work. Okay. So basically, you just substitute, there is the amount, okay, the principal. Then there is the percentage, and there is the years, and you just press it on the calculator. Okay, but let's just go. It's very, very basic. Okay, so let's start. Let's start with the formula. So, to get that amount, calculate the total amount. Okay, I'll say to you something at the end. So to get that amount, it's just the formula P. I just want to make it blue. P is equal to 1 plus R over 100 to the power n. I'm writing the formula. You don't have. You can directly start with substituting it in. So 1 plus, there is the percentage, 4.5 over 100, and there is the years 2. Now, when I press it on my calculator, I always say, I prefer that you first press the bracket in. So I start open bracket, do you see there? And then I say 1 plus 4.5 divide 100, then close bracket, okay? And then to the power or x2, because it's 2, so square. So I first calculate this and then multiply 3500. But some of you are so good on the calculator, you can just do it directly. So it's 3822. Now, if it's money, then I approximate it. I think it will be correct if you say 0.9. Okay, but can I say to you, in the examination paper, they said, okay, if you were writing, substituting, they gave you 2 marks for that. Okay, so they said, if you could have made it 3822, so it seems to me if somebody wrote 3822, then he was also correct. Okay, and even if he wrote 0875, even if you write that part, so they were focusing on that. But I think from a mathematical perspective, I think it's a money question, so it's a practical question. So make it 2 decimal places. But I just show you that options would have also been correct. Okay, let's go to the next question. Now, question number 11. So the final was then for the answer. There was the final. So 1 for the method and answer. Otherwise, just all 3 there. But please write your methods as they said in the report. Question number 11. In the space provided below, write each number in this calculation correct to one significant figure. Now, I'm going to take you back to the textbook, to approximation, because this is such an important thing. Every question must, or if they don't specify otherwise, 3 significant figures. So I want to take you, this is a very, very important thing, according to me, approximation. So I'm going to take you back to that question, and that's question 11, to the textbook. And in the textbook, approximation, you will find 23, chapter 1. Important in there. It's not specified. If the answer is not, the answer should be to 3 significance. Answer in degree should be given to 1 decimal place. Money to 2 decimal. Trig ratios, 3 decimal places. Okay, but you can just check what they say on the front page. But let me just take you back. Now, usually, because you did this in primary school, you don't struggle with rounding to decimal places because it's easy. If they say 2 decimal, you go 1, 2 from the point and you look at the one behind. If it's the one behind is less than 5, it stays the same. So count from the decimal. Look at the digit in the next place. Just less than 5, the number stays the same. Digits 5 or more, the number becomes 1 more. Easy. But here, and this is the important one. So, if it's too significant, you start counting from the left. This is your left, this is your right, going to the right. Ignore the point. The first significant figure is the first digit which is not a 0. Okay, so it means the first that you see a 1 or a 2 up to 9. If the second digit is a 0, it must be counted. But the first one must not be 0. So that 0, I cannot count that as the first one. That is my first. That is my second. And that is my third. Okay, so if I look, and I just want to get my highlighter here. If I look at the next position. That's a 9. And this works the same as this. So that one becomes a 6. But I still write mine. So I say 35.6. That's I'm just because this is so important. I'm just going to quickly go through the significant figures in this try now 19. So if they say 3. So let me count. This is 1. This is 2. This is 3. I look at this one. So then, okay, let me just see the pen. This is 8, so this will become a 9. So it will be 709. Okay, you don't have to say 0.00. Okay, but sometimes you have. That's fine. Okay, I don't count. They say 3. 1, 2, 3. I look at the one, it's a 9. So this is 38.7. Okay. Now comes the tricky ones. This is 1. This is 1. I look at the one behind. It's a 5. Okay. Now, if it's a 5, then this must become a 5. If you write that 5, it's incorrect because approximation means it's more or less the same. Now, I always, when I was teaching, I said to students, okay, somebody owe you, he must give you 459 Namibian dollar. And you say, okay, it's fine, just give me the money to one significant figure. And he say to you, okay, here's your $5. Will you be satisfied? Is that more or less the same? Definitely not. So what is my problem? Until the comma, if there's no comma or point, it's at the last digit. I must fill with zeros. So if somebody comes and he say, oh, here is $500. Oh, you will just smile because it's a little bit more, but it's more or less the same. It's not more or less the same than $5. Okay, so can I do this one? I don't count. I count 1. I count 2 because there stands 2. I look at the one behind and this one becomes an 8, but I still write my 0 and I make 3, 8. Okay, and I'll do this last one. 2 significant. And remember, if there's no comma, the comma is or the point is at the back. Let's rather say point. Now, in this case, I'm counting 1, 2. Do you see? 2 there. I look at the one behind, and it's a, come on, pen. Always with your stories. Okay. And this is an 8. So what I'm going to do is, this 8 is going to make it, but again, if somebody owe you now $22,843 and he say, okay, 2 significant giver, give me just approximated to, and he said, there's your $23. No, you will not be satisfied. So all that positions to the point, you must fill with zeros. Okay, so that becomes a 3, but then it's 0, 0, 0. If that person give you back $23,000, you will smile. Okay, so just remember, if you approximate, even if to decimal, even to significant, the two answers must be more or less the same. Okay, it depends on how many significant figures, how accurate you are. So please, this is very important that you practice that, because you use it so much in the examination papers. Okay, but let's just go back to that question. It's a very nice question because it's working with different numbers. Now it's a bit back. Okay, here it starts. So, again, what I'm going to do, I'm first going to just mark in the space below, write each number in this calculator to 1. Now, I'm just going to mark. So, that is my 1, that is my 1, that is my 1, that is my 1. Okay, I look at the one behind, it's a 7, so this becomes a 5, so it's 0.5. I look at the one behind, it's a 4, so it stays a 3, but it's not 3. There's the point. Fill with zeros to the point. This is a 9. After the point, it doesn't matter. Just before the point, positions must be filled with zeros. So if this is a 8, you look at the one behind, it makes this one a 9, makes this one a 10. And if you look at this one, this is 1. Look at the one behind, it's a 4. So this one stays at 2, but please, up to the point, full with zeros. So that was a very good question to test if you can approximate. Okay, but that's what they want. So they gave you 1 mark if they said if 2 positions were correct. But otherwise, nice 2 marks. Please go to your textbook, page 23, example 19, and practice it and do all the exercises. Make sure you understand it. Now, use your answer to estimate the value. So we did this because we're going to do it now without a calculator. Because if you say half of 3,000, that's going to be easy. That's 1,500. You can do it with a calculator, but the reason was that you can do it without. 10 plus 20, that is 30. And if you divide that and you say it's 1 and it goes in 5, and it will be 50. But you can press that on the calculator. As long as you come to 50, you will get your final mark. Okay, very important approximation, especially to significant figures, the difficult one in high school. Okay, and the next one. In a hospital in 2021, the ratio of number of baby boys born to the number of baby girls, so I already see it's 2 things. It's boys and it's girls. And remember, boys, girls, 3:2. In 2000, so check the dates, the years is the same, 100 baby boys, not in total babies, were born in the hospital. So if it's like that, I think it was in the previous year almost the same type. It's ratio. It's that missing outcome. And I'm just going to go there to question 12. I want to show you. It's this one. And it's on page 35. It's where they give the ratio and 1 outcome. So they give you the boys and they ask you and find the girls. So it's apple and oranges are divided 3:4. There are 15 apples. So you write it under the apples. Then you see with what did they multiply that 3 to go to 15? 5, because 15 divided 3 is 5. If you multiply that side with 5, you must also multiply that side with 5. And then you get 20 and 20 oranges. And that was on page 35, the one in the textbook that would have helped you. Let's go back to the question paper and let's do it. Okay. So we can just make sure it is now 3:2, and the one they mentioned first, boys. So boys is 3, girls is 2. There were 180 boys. Okay, so 180 divided with 3. With what did they multiply? They multiply with 60. And ratio is like this. If I multiply this one with 60, I also multiply this one with 60. And what do I get? 120. So 120, and they told you girls. Okay, not a difficult question. And again, I think if they saw the 60, that you worked with 60, and if you come to the girls. Okay, and then we go to the next question of the page. And let's see how this question is going. Still very simple questions, which is very nice, especially if it's your first paper. Okay. And now this is Jürgen. He wants to visit his question 13. His grandmother in Germany. He's exchanged 5,500 to euro upon arrival. The exchange rate was 1 euro is 19.6. Calculate the amount in euros that he received. Now, this is direct proportion. I can just take you to where we did that. Question 13. I want to show you where it is in the textbook. The textbook, you will find it on page 42. It's still the first chapter, numbers and operation, and it's exchange rate. We do it with direct proportion. So, and if I show you this example, 38, it's just given that $1 Namibian is 11.44 pesetas, then change 3,005 to pesetas. So again, make a dollar, make pesetas. Write the pesetas underneath. Oh, I have the dollar, but I look for the pesetas, so I make it X. Now, if I do direct proportion, I cross multiply. So I say X times 1, I get 1X. 3,500 times 11.44, I get this, and then I just get 40040 pesetas. Not difficult. Okay, so please just make sure that you can do that kind of sum. Okay, let's just make sure we go back, and we're going to do it on direct proportion. And then just here, okay, let's go to the question paper. This is exchange rate, and this is very important. You go, even if it's now not in your school years, but one day if you travel for work and you go to another country, you cannot use your Namibian dollar there. You have to exchange it in a bank. Okay. Luckily, ATM machines also help. Okay, so let's start. I'm having this, and first I will always write my exchange rate. So I know 1 euro, and it's really a lot. It's very expensive, Europe. Okay, and now they say he's taking his 5,000, and it's underneath there. So I write it underneath the Namibian dollar sign. And I make this 1x, and I cross multiply, direct proportion, and then I will get 19.6x, and it's 5,500. And I divide 19.6, and money I always do 2 decimal places. So if I do that, I get 280.61. But again, they said in the question paper, I just read to you, if you said 280.6, they marked it correct. If you make it to 3 significant figures, 281, they marked it correct. And if you even say okay, so can I bring it in now? I didn't bring it in previously. Can you remember that they said always write down your full calculator display? So it seems to me even I forget that. Okay, always. Let's just follow their hint or their help. So first write that down, and then you can approximate. Okay, so if you were writing, say, this, it seems to me you would have also get your 2 marks. Okay, but one was for dividing, and then for your final answer. Okay, so let's just go to the next question. Okay, now if I say convert 10 kilometers per hour into meters per second, I just know it's right, and I'll just want to show you where to find this in the textbook. So if I go to the textbook, it's right, still chapter 1, a lot of chapter 1. So really know your basics. And chapter 1 is a lot of grade 8 and 9. I will say only that's limits of accuracy that's coming in, direct that proportion that's coming in, but the rest is really a lot of old work. Okay, but here, and I'm on page 41, and that's example 37. And how do I do that? I just express speed in kilometers in meters seconds. So I write kilometers on top, I write hours, and I want meters, and I want seconds. And I just convert, and I'll show you now the tables. I'm going to write it down. So I take the kilometers to meters, so I must multiply 1,000. I'll show you now the tables. Must take hours to second, multiply 60, multiply 60. I just press everything on the calculator and I get 33.3 meters per second. And that was on page 41. Okay, I will write the tables for you down if I do the question in the question paper. Okay. So if I say here, convert, and now we're going to do 108, and I write that, and that per means divide, and that's 1 hour, and I want it in meters per second. Now what I like to do is I write down the tables. So it's kilometers, meters, centimeters, millimeters. And the tables is in part 2 in the textbook, and later in the question paper I'll tell you the page. So this is 1 0, this is 2 0, this is 3 zeros. If I go to this side, I now multiply. If I go to this side, I divide. So I must go from kilometers to meters. So what must I do? I must multiply 1,000. So I'm going to multiply 1,000. Okay, and then my time, I know my time also. That's hours, minutes, seconds. And I know that that is 60. 1 hour is 60 minutes. If I go back, I divide. So if I go from hours to seconds, I must multiply 60 and I must multiply 60. So I multiply 60, I multiply 60. And then I like to just put my brackets there and press on your calculator. Bracket 108, multiply 1,000, close the bracket, divide, bracket 1 multiply 60, close the bracket, equals, oh, that's a nice answer, 30 meters per second on the dot. Okay, that's very nice. So again, what will they give you marks for? I think they will give you marks if you were just doing that multiply 1,000 and multiply. You could have said 3,600 also, and your final answer. Okay, and then this one. This you use a lot in geography. So a scale on a map is 1 to 280,000. The road is 4.8 centimeters long on the map. Calculate the actual length of the road in kilometers. We're again going to use that direct proportion. And I think I wanted to show you that. So I'm just going to take you a few places. It's very basic, but maybe things which I just want you to mention here. I want to show you where did I use it in the textbook, or where it was. It was now at Loki, but 4 to 1, and they like to use it there. So find the distance in kilometers between point A and B. So you would have just measure it with a ruler. And then I just hope I did the other part. No, I'll show you. I just showed you where they use it. I'll show you now the method. Okay, so if we go to the next one, let's just see what is the next one showing us. Okay, we're going to do it here, direct proportion. Do you see? This is the method this is also the method that I used for the exchange rate. And I wanted to mention the page to you. It's page 36, first chapter. This is direct proportion. This is how we do exchange rate. Jürgen going to Germany. So the same which we use in maps. So machine labels 500 bottles in 4 minutes. So bottles minutes, 5, 4. How many bottles were in an hour? So it's 60 minutes. X cross multiply and then just solve your equation. That's on page 36. And then I wanted to also tell you the tables. Where did I find the tables? Now I'm going to show you where the tables is. I showed you a lot of the things that I wanted to show, and I just decided in this question I'll show you. This is book 2, part 2, grade 10-11, mathematics, y equals mx plus c, grade 10-11, page 494, part 2, and there you see your tables, kilometers, meters, millimeters, there's the area, there's the volume, okay, which I showed you there. But it's such an easy question, and let's just go back to the question and let's just do it. I just showed you where to find all that info. Okay, so. Okay, and here it is. So a scale of a map, and I showed you they like to locate also if it's a practical question. So the scale of the map is 1 Okay, now this is almost like to say this is the map and this is real life. Okay, so if it's now on the map, it's not going to be 4,8 centimeters in real life. So that's the map. So if it's 4,8 and this is x. Now remember, if this is in centimeter, x will also be in centimeter. So if I'm going to cross direct proportion, multiply, I'm going to get 1 times x is x. And I'm going to get 4.8 times 280,123. And if I do that, I'm going to get 1344000. But because that was in centimeters, that is also. Now, we're never going to say, okay, Windhoek to Okanya is this amount of centimeters. No, we're going to say kilometers. So let's just go to my tables, and which I showed you. Kilometers, meters, centimeters, millimeters. And I showed you where to find it in the textbook. It's very easy, this one. 1 0, 2 zeros, 3 zeros. Going to this side, I times. Going back, I divide. Now, I must go from centimeters to kilometers. So I must divide 100 and divide 1,000. So it's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if there's no comma, it stands always at the back or point. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there I'm in kilometers. So that is going to be, and I just want to make it blue, 13.44 kilometers. Now this answer is exact. So 13.44 kilometers. But they said if somebody was writing 13, very significant, 13.4, he was also correct. But this is actually what they are talking when they are saying if the answer is exact. Okay. And again, they gave a mark if they saw this, if they saw that calculation, or that you came to that, they gave you, and then for the final, converting to kilometers. Okay, let's do the next one, number 16. A total of 940 Ochitati students entered a quiz competition in 2021. This was an increase, this is nice, increase of 25 on the 2019 entry. Calculate the number of students who entered this quiz in 19. Now, remember, I want to show you. If this is now 2021, and this the number of students, can I just show you the number of students? The number of students was 950. Now, 2019 was back in the past, okay? And they want now this number. So we call this, I want to reverse back to the past. That's why we call it reverse percentage. And this is one of the topics that they really say the students also struggle. And I want to show you where it's in the textbook and do all that examples, that if you come to a question like this again, that you will really not struggle with a question like this. But let's just see where it's in the textbook. So in the textbook, it will be on page 15, and 14 it starts. Okay, so this is reverse percentage. This is in chapter 1, number and operation. So they say in 2017, Anna picked 150 kilogram of apples. This was 20% more, okay, than she picked in 2016. Can you see? 2016 stands there. She must reverse back. Calculate how many kilos she picked in 2016. Now, if it's more, you add. But just be careful. Now, in that question paper of this last year, it was also more. But if it was less, you would have subtract and get 80. So it's not always more. It can also be less. And I think I want to show you. I'll show you now. Let's first finish it. Now, because I want the original, that's the 100, it's the sums where you reverse back, where you put the 100% on top. So 100 over 120 times 150, and I get 125. So it will decrease because 2017 was more, so it was a little bit less. She picked 125 in 2016. Okay, now I just want to show you a second-hand car is sold for this at a loss of 8%. Work out the original. So if it's a loss, it will be 100 minus 8. Okay. Now, after adding a profit, so calculate the cost. So this is also plus 20. And I just want to show you another decrease. Yes. The value of a number when decreased by 20 is 192. Are you with me? Find the number. So in this case, it's 100 minus 20, which is 80%. And then it will be the original, so 100 over 80 times 192, and that will give you the new one. So do that whole exercise and make sure that you can do this. They love asking it in the question papers. And it's on page 15 in the mathematics textbook, y equals mx plus c, part 1, grade 10, 11. Okay, let's go back to the question paper. Okay, here it is. Okay, the number okay, the total of 950 in Ochitati students entered in 2000. Okay, so now I'm just going to start. It was 100, but they increased with 25. So now this is 100. Okay, I'm writing it so close to that one. Sorry, and let's rather write it here. I'll show you why. So it was 100. And then it increased. Let's rather write it here. Sorry. Just for explanation's sake, I want to. So here it was 100%. Then it was 100% plus the 25. So this one is 125%. This is 950, but I want 100. So I will say 100 over 125, and I multiply it with 950. Okay, and what do I get? 760. So this was 760. And my final answer here is 760. And how can I test it? Increase that 760 with 25%. Say 125 over 100 times 760, and you will get the 950. It's really not so difficult. Go to that page 15 and practice that. They love asking these questions in an examination. Okay, so one they will give for that method and one they will give for the fun. Now it's actually counting 3. So if they see you were getting that, they will 125%, they will also give you a mark. So that's why show all your methods.